Hey there everyone, Andrew Lopez here, Partner Channel OC, coming at you again for another awesome episode of Partner Channel OC, and I have the wonderful, the awesome, Mr. Raad Ghantous here with us, so thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Andrew, for inviting me.
This is awesome. Yeah, I love being here. This is an amazing spot where we're at, sharing some Arabic coffee. Cheers to that, and first of all, where are we?
We're at my parents' home in South Orange County. One of the first houses that I actually was involved in. My parents lived overseas for the majority of their lives. We all did. And then when my father retired, we came to San Clemente. We were already in San Clemente, and they decided they liked the area very much. And so they decided to stay in San Clemente and build a home. So we actually built this house, designed it, and built it to their specifications and their needs, and sort of a reflection of their lives and our lives, just being that we had spent a lot of time overseas. I was born in Baghdad, grew up in Kuwait. My father's a civil engineer. He was a civil engineer for all his life until he retired. And so a lot of the stuff around was either stuff that they collected or things that we basically have a kind of a personal affinity to. And so we wanted to be respectful to the environment that we were in, which was Spanish Revival. So the outside of the house was very Spanish Revival. The interior of the house, sort of more inwardly focused, is Arabesque, Moorish, which again, Spanish Revival is also south of Spain. South of Spain is Moorish. There are Arabs in the south of Spain for about 500 years. So there's a lot of cross-cultural intermixing in Spain. And this house actually fits very nicely in San Clemente. It is basically the culmination of their life, and we wanted to represent that. And the architect on the project was a teacher of mine from design school by the name of Carol Tink, and I worked on the interiors. And you were commenting about how it has a little bit of a sort of a boutique hotel flavor to it.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm in a lobby of a very, very nice luxury hotel. As you can see from behind us, I feel very, very, very good. I feel like I'm somewhere overseas and not just here in San Clemente.
Well, it's interesting because when I designed the interiors on this, I was working for a company by the name of Hirsch Bedner in Atlanta, which is #1 or #2 in the world, depending on billing that year for hotels and resorts. And then I came back and worked for a company by the name of WAT&G, Wimberley, Ellison, Tong, and Gu. And they are out of Irvine right now. They were in Newport Beach on the back bay on University. And they are the architect of choice for about 50 years plus for hotels, 5-star hotels and resorts globally. So I guess you are a victim of your environment. I ended up basically doing a lot of elements in this house that were from my background and the field that I was working in, which was hospitality. It lended itself very well because culturally, hospitality is a very big component of our culture in the Middle East. And it just really it came together. But we also did some things that were directly from sort of the hospitality or the commercial side of things from the interiors, in that we basically have plugs all around that you don't really see. So when we set up a Christmas tree, or we have something where we need to plug it in, you don't have to have wires running across. Because my parents, when they moved into this house, it was their retirement home basically. And we had the wherewithal to actually make sure that we had accommodations downstairs, like the guest bedroom is downstairs. There's a bathroom in there that's a shower. Should heaven forbid anything happen to where somebody is basically limited in their mobility, the house, they moved in 2000. To give you an idea, I got certified aging in place, which is modification of people's homes so they can stay in them longer, in 2008. But we were always doing American Disabilities Act stuff since '97, because that became the law when it came to hotels. So when I did my parents' house in 2000, which was about less than 5 years from when the code became a law in commercial settings that you accommodate for people with varying abilities, I incorporated a whole bunch of stuff in here. The way the stairwell is done behind those doors that are carved with doors from Morocco. The stairwell has a lot of space in it where you could put a piston elevator. The landing at the second floor is wide enough that you can actually come out of that elevator, turn around, and actually circulate the upstairs. And the idea was to try to increase and provide maximum possible independent movement for somebody, even though their actual abilities were diminished because of age. Or should somebody basically be injured and break a leg, and it's a lot harder for them to go up and down the stairs. Not that we need to put an elevator for that, but we could basically have them be downstairs convalescing until they recovered. There's zero entry. Some of these terms that are very common now that you hear when it comes to aging in place. Zero entry, there's no step up in the doorway. Out to the backyard, there's no step up. All the flooring here, other than with the area rugs, but all the areas underneath them is all hard surfaces, whether it's porcelain, Italian porcelain tile, or wood. The only place where we do have carpeting is wall-to-wall carpeting in the bedrooms, but that is an easy enough replacement. You take that out, you put in some wood, you literally are able to maneuver in a scooter, a motorized scooter, or in a wheelchair under your own independent power. So that, again, while you convalesce or as you get older and you have these realities of life that are basically now, part of your existence and you have to deal with on a daily basis, you still maintain some dignity and independence and not be so dependent on somebody else to, literally push you around and do everything for you. Whatever we could do to preventively think about that, we did. Circa 2000. There's more stuff now that we can do, but a lot of it is actually, interestingly enough, incorporated in the way we designed this house.
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing just from your story, your background, creating what you've created here at your parents' house, in getting to know you the last couple months. I've been very lucky to be associated here with Raad. And,
Likewise.
And seeing, what you've created in your business, and just, you're a man of luxury, you're a man of hospitality, you're a man of, relationship, and just what you've created here at your parents' house, and just going into what you've created with Raad Ghantous and Associates, I can see just from sitting here, that parallel and why that works.
Thank
So
you.
Raad, what is Raad Ghantous and Associates, and can you touch a little bit of how this transition from here has got you outside of just the houses?
Oh, sure. In fact, a lot of our work tends to be commercial hospitality in nature. We do hotels and resorts work. We do ground up, but we also really pride ourselves and really enjoy doing stuff that is repositioning, reinventing spaces and properties. I'll give you an example. We spent about a year, not this last year, but about a year, the prior year, year plus actually, at Monarch Beach, which used to be the St. Regis Hotel down in Dana Point, when it was taken over. And even though that property had gone through a major $21 million renovation, there was a lot of things that were super critical to the operation of that business and that were missed, that were critical for them to basically continue to generate revenue. We went in and we took care of it for them. And then other areas came up that still needed assistance and help. So we do wellness centers, spas, day spas and resort spas. Another project that is just down the street here from us in Carlsbad that I did was the Hilton waterfront, which then became the Cape Ray Hotel. I did the spa in there. It's about 7,000 square foot spa, ground up. Equivalently in Carlsbad, my very first project when I went out on my own in 2003 after 3 years at Wimberley, W18G, the first project was a mom and pop. It was a lady that had a day spa that she had been operating for about 15 years. That was about 1,000 square feet, maybe 1,200 square feet, very small, about 2 treatment rooms. And she was moving to a old warehouse music store, for those who remember what warehouse music stores looked like, which was interestingly in the same shopping center on the other side. So she was not moving her business to a location that was not familiar with her. She was just literally moving it around the corner. And she was going from 1,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet. She was going from 2 treatment rooms to 7 treatment rooms. She was 30 minutes away from La Costa, which is a high-end resort in Carlsbad, from the Four Seasons in Carlsbad, both of which had spas. And then everybody else who was in the spa business, at that point, I think it was 2003, 2004. So, interesting case study there was that even though she had an established hold in the market, foothold in the market, she was actually changing her business model completely. She was going from 1,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet. She's paying about $5 a square foot. You do the math on that before you even turn on the lights in the morning. She was out of pocket X amount of dollars, plus payroll, plus all that stuff. So her space had to be dialed in. And she was taking a second mortgage on her home that she plans to retire in, okay, to do this expansion. So there was a very high risk. And in a lot of cases, you have a corporate client like a hotel, national brand or something, they have a little bit deeper pockets. Now, I have been doing spas since '98, and I will tell you the way that the business of hospitality, the business of commercial real estate has changed dramatically. Before, in certain cases, you used to be able to kind of think, well, I'm going to give this away so I can generate this kind of return or type of business. I'll give away the green fees so I can get golf club memberships. I'll give away the treatment rooms at the spa because I'm going to get that corporate group coming in, and that'll make up for it. These days, it is super critical because real estate has continued to go up. Even if you are on a hotel property or resort property, that square footage that is allocated to whatever function or amenity, spa, pool bar, whatever, that has projections that it has to meet. And so there's a very much a business and money oriented. If they're in the business of making money, they're not in the business of just saying, hey, come on by, right?
Yeah.
And have a beer in my home. So we at Raad Ghantous and Associates, and partly because my background prior to interior design is I have an undergraduate in economics and I went for a master's degree in business at the Drucker Center in Claremont, my brain tends to be left and right brain from day one. And so we look at what we do as a business consultancy that just happens to manifest itself in a three-dimensional environment.
And it's, what I would touch on too is I've seen you in action a couple times at some of your clients, and, I can see it even just, it's more than just the transaction. It's more than just, hey, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to make it look luxurious, I'm going to make it look great, see you later, have a nice time. If you need any more renovations, call me. You're somebody who I've noticed it's all about the relationship. It's all about the partnership. It's all about saying, hey, I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to help you out, but I'm your partner in this. And if it takes a year, if it takes 5 years, if we come back to it, like, I'm your go-to partner for this. And that's why you've always been a good candidate for Partner Channel OC. And it's the question that I always ask and everyone loves to hear about is, Rod, how do you value partnership in your business?
I value partnerships a lot, and it's not just in business. I come from an extended family, so partnerships have been very much a part of my existence from the very beginning, and you would think that because of that, I would have a very clear, sure way of basically dealing with it. But the beauty and the challenge and the scary part and the sort of the euphoric component too, especially after a while, is when you actually approach a new relationship or a new partnership, right? The sort of the cliche of, you got to learn how to dance, right? It's very true. Absolutely. Because I see it also always a lot when people are very driven by just sort of results on that quarterly results or how much sales they're going to generate. And I'm not knocking it. Some people, that's their reality. But we basically look at relationships and we walk into it and we understand that there may be lessons to be learned, right? So, especially today's world where everybody's so busy to achieve a goal, an item on a to-do list, an itinerary on an agenda, whatever, sometimes we got to remind ourselves to actually reflect, like actually step back away enough to reflect on what you're learning and what you're hearing, and that may mean that you adjust your own self. It's not just, how can I get them to see my point? Relationships are about give and take. They're about boundaries, but they're also about permeable boundaries, and that is not just personal, but it's also business. In fact, a lot of times it's really funny. People deal with their business relationships with a lot more decorum and respect and sophistication than their personal relationships, right? And I think that's kind of interesting and ironic. But relationships are relationships. Partnerships are partnerships. They will ebb and they will flow. They will hit learning curves. They will hit bumps, and as long as there is, in most cases, a candid, respectful, even during, and especially during tough topics that come up in a project, it happens all the time. And you have a moment where you could basically approach it from an I told you so, because aha, I was right in what I told you from day one. Or you can basically approach it from the perspective of this is a growth opportunity for everybody, including your client, who maybe didn't see it at the beginning, and as much as you try to visualize for them what their potential is in what you're proposing, they couldn't see it, but it took them longer to get there. And so there's a patience component to relationships, to partnerships. There's a constant learning component to partnerships. It's work. And it's not work in a negative sense of that word. It's actually a joyful work if you are so DNA driven that you value partnerships. And that's something that is very core to me. And I've had people that have worked with me that have shared that, and people that haven't. And it's funny because, you know, you and I have talked about this even on with the radio shows, that it's very interesting that even when you're dealing with a tough topic, when it is that kind of connection and that kind of partnerships and relationships, and that's the sort of the connect or the gear that you're operating in with somebody, everybody walks away from that in exchange, that experience, rewarded.
Well, I thank you so much, Raad, for sharing all of this. You know, your background, what you've created, you know, how you value partnerships, and it's the guys like you that I love to have on this show here. So I thank you so much for your time, your enthusiasm, and your trust. You know, I'm glad that you're a part of the Partner Channel OC family.
It's my pleasure.
I'm going to put Raad's info below. Reach out to him, connect with him. He's got a lot of amazing stuff going on. He's one of my favorite people on this earth that I've gotten to know. And just reach out, connect, see all the cool stuff he's got going on. And Raad, thank you.
Very thankful that you made it and were able to do this, and I appreciate and value your friendships as well. And thank you for your partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the mantra of Partner Channel OC. Alrighty. Cheers, everybody.